When you're photographing in a city, it's hard to avoid getting unwanted details like these wires in your photos. In this tutorial, we'll use some of Photoshop's amazing retouching tools to remove these wires from this scene. To start, let's make a new layer for our touch-ups. Go to the bottom of the Layers panel and click the Create New Layer button. And let's name this layer Cleanup. A good place to start when you're removing wires is with the Spot Healing Brush tool. I'll select that tool here in the toolbar, and then go up to the Options bar and check Sample All Layers, so that the tool samples content from the photo on the background layer and uses it to lay down a patch on the cleanup layer. Come into the image, and you want to make your brush tip just a little bit bigger than the wire that you want to remove. A shortcut for doing that is to use the bracket keys on your keyboard, which are right next to the P key. If I want to make the brush tip smaller, I'll press the left bracket key several times. If I want to make it bigger, I'll press the right bracket key. Then click and drag over the wire, and it disappears. When the wire is straight like this, you can sometimes remove the whole thing at once by clicking at the top of the wire and then holding down the Shift key and coming down to the bottom of the wire and clicking there. With the brush tip a little bigger, pressing the right bracket key, I'm going to click and drag over this tangle of wires at the bottom left, and they disappear. If the Spot Healing Brush tool doesn't give you the result that you want, you can try its neighbor, the Healing Brush tool. To access that tool, press on the Spot Healing Brush tool in the toolbar and choose the Healing Brush tool. And then in the image, hold down the Option key, that's the Alt key on Windows, as you click near the wire that you want to remove. That changes the cursor to a target. Then click to start sampling from under your cursor, and then click on the wire and drag. And that white crosshair shows you the source from which the good pixels are being sampled. Now, if you want to see why the wire has disappeared, let's go over to the Layers panel and turn off the background layer. And there you'll see the patch that we've made that's hiding the wire on the layer below. So if you don't like some of this patch, you can always erase it, or you could delete the entire cleanup layer and start again. Part of this wire is crossing over a pretty intricate pattern in the front of the building. The good news is that the Spot Healing Brush tool can often help there too. Let's give it a try. I'll go back and select the Spot Healing Brush tool in the toolbar. I'll click on one side of the wire, and then I'll hold the Shift key, and I'll click on the other side. And the Spot Healing Brush tool did a pretty good job of removing the wire even on the front of the building. Now, it's not perfect. There are some areas to fill in. For that, we can use the Clone Stamp tool. The Clone Stamp tool works much the same way as the Healing Brush tool. It samples pixels and then it lays them down, but it doesn't try to blend them into the surrounding image like the Healing Brush tool does. I'll select the Clone Stamp tool here in the toolbar. In the Options bar, I'll set the sample field to current and below. Then I'll move into a part of the image that needs fixing, maybe right down here. I'm going to have to make my brush tip pretty small for this. I'll hold down the Option key, that's the Alt key on Windows, and the cursor changes to a target, just like it did for the Healing Brush tool. I'll click to sample some pixels, and then I'll take my finger off of the Option or Alt key, and I'll move in and I'll start to paint with these pixels. Now, this can take some time to really get right, so if you're following along, you're welcome to come back later and work on the front of the building a little more. To see how far we've come, I'm going to double-click the Hand tool to fit the entire image on screen again, and then I'll go over to the Layers panel, and I'm going to turn the cleanup layer off by clicking its eye icon. So there's the original image, and here it is after just a little cleanup with Photoshop's retouching tools.